La 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 dee. La 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 dee. Bum 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 bum. Hi da dee da do. Da da dee 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 dee. La 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 da do. La 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 dee da da do. Ay da do. Da 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 da. Ay do. Ay do. Da 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 ay da 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 ba ay da 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 di ay da di 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 da da la la di da 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 do da da la 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 da 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 do di da la la di da da do ay da do di da la 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 do da la 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 di da do di da la 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 di da da do la 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 da 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 la da 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 la la le oh ay da da de bam 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 ay da 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 de ay da 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 de da da ay da da de da da do Alrighty, welcome everyone. Welcome all Rabbi Yeshiva students. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much for everyone that's here. And I promised that Chaver that got stuck from Yerushalayim we'd keep on singing, but I can't because there's so much we have to cover, so much I want to cover. So when they come in, we'll just start in a second. Okay, that's cool. But before we get to tonight's topic, so first of all, I want to dedicate tonight's shir for the refuah shlema of Yehudit Rivka bat Fehi, and also Le'ilui Nishmas Yair ben Yisrael Yosef. That was Nebuch, the story that Zelda was on this hike with this guy, this crazy story. This guy from Ramana who fell off a cliff while they were hiking over Pesach. So this is Le'ilui Nishmas Yair ben Yisrael Yosef, and we'll mention his name also. I think she told me today she'll be coming also a little bit late. I want to, before anything else, I'll just remind everyone we're learning again next Sunday night in Simchat Shlomo in Yerushalayim. I'll be sending out last night's class. Perfect timing. I'll be sending out last night's class together with tonight. I'll be sending it all out tomorrow, and we're going to go as strong as we can until Shavuos, and hopefully even after that. But we're going to go as strong as we can, really as strong as possible. Come, welcome, perfect timing. All right.
Oh, it was really a miss.
Yeah, come. We really, I didn't have to lie, we really just started. We really just started the second.
Nadia Shlomo Katz.
Hi. Welcome. Thank you for coming. So, for the Chevra that were with us last night, But the Chaver that were with us last night, before I forget, one more thing. I want to dedicate tonight.
Next week.
I know, but I'm not going to be with you next week. I'm not going to be with you, so I want to make sure that I have the name tonight. I wanted to make sure. Lenny's name. Yehuda Leib
Ben Chaim Yosef.
Ben Chaim Yosef. Yehuda Leib Ben Chaim Yosef. Leilui Nishmato Torah. He should continue to have nachas from his family, and just storm open all the gates in Shamayim. Enough is enough. Enough confusion is enough. Let's start seeing revealed miracles, not just hidden miracles. So, because we have so much to cover, I want. Please, thank you. We missed you. There's something very, very important that I wanted to say before we begin tonight's learning. Just if everyone can turn off their cell phones. Usually there's no reception here. I don't know why tonight there's so much reception. I don't know. Usually there's no reception. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. My phone, for the first time, it rang in the house. I don't know what happened. Usually it's...
It has to be Jackie calling, because she gets
Yeah.
she gets special.
Baruch Hashem. Okay. All right, Chavra, let's get it together. I'm going to repeat something I told the Chavra in Yerushalayim last night, and actually I mentioned it in Shul on Shabbos too, but it's something that I can't stop thinking about non-stop, because these days that we're right now in, these very powerful days between Yom HaShoah and Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaTzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim and Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer, there are so many powerful days right now in between Pesach and Shavuot. Sfirat HaOmer is just so powerful, and tonight really is my favorite night of Sfirat HaOmer because it's Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet. So it's a very, very beautiful night tonight. It's a really pretty night. Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet. And my Tiferet never looked more beautiful than she did today on the swings in the Moshav. She was just glowing, while her sister, the acrobat's jumping off. God, we couldn't even look anymore, or just free-falling, fearless Gingy that she is. So tonight's a night of... Okay. Tonight's a night... no, I'll tell you, whenever there's something really important to do, this will keep on happening. Jack, this is a shlichus. No, don't.
I shut it up. It won't happen.
And if it does, it means it was perfect.
Shut it up.
It's fine. This always happens when there's something really strong to say. I'm just going to say it pretty fast. It can't be that we're living in a world where 6 million Jews were killed and we're still dealing with all the stuff we're dealing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that we're still stuck with so many things that really were unfortunately put to sleep and put to rest after the 6 million. To explain, I'll just share the following very quickly, that there was one beautiful meeting which took place between Rav Soloveitchik and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that the Rav Soloveitchik, whose yahrzeit was just a few weeks ago, Rabbi Yoshe Ber, I wanted to say this tonight, because the Rav's son-in-law died this morning, Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, Olav Shalom Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Livracha, a true Tzadik Talmid Chacham, someone who our great-grandchildren will begin to realize how deep he really was, the Rav of Gush, of the yeshiva, right across the street. Rav Aaron Lichtenstein was 81. He married the Rav's daughter, Tova. And Rav Soloveitchik came to 770. It never happened before. And he came to honor the Rebbe, being present at one of the Rebbe's Farbrengens. I was certain that it was Yud Shvat, which is the day of the Frierdiker Rebbe's yahrzeit. Someone said to me last night he thinks it was Yud Aleph Nisan. It was the Rebbe's birthday. It doesn't really matter when it was. I'm just like an archive freak that I love knowing the exact dates. And instead of, he was going to stay for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, he ended up staying over 2 hours, Rav Soloveitchik. And there's a video of it, you should see it online. I really encourage all of you to look at it, the Rebbe and the Rav. There's footage of this online. And what happened is, the next day, see, the Rav Soloveitchik and Lubavitcher Rebbe were friends from Berlin, when they were both learning together in the university. And they had some kind of relationship, but they rarely saw each other. But they really liked each other. Not just had love for each other, they really liked each other. You could tell by the way they look at each other. And this video, when the Rav comes to 770, they really liked each other. A lot of people love each other, but who do you really like each other? That's something else. They mamish liked each other, and you could see it. So, the next day, back in YU, one of the students of the Rav came to the Rav and said to him, "Unbelievable! Last night, peace was made between the Gra and the Alter Rebbe. Peace was made last night between the school of Volozhin, that straight, brisk, that straight world, not really Misnagdim, but even Misnagdim Litvish world, and the world of the Balatanya, the Alter Rebbe's great-great-grandson, the Rebbe. Peace was made last night." This is 1980, 35 years after World War II. And the Rav sighed and said, "No, it's not true." He said, "They already made peace in Auschwitz." He said, "They already made peace in Auschwitz." So I've been thinking for the last few days in a very deep way, is that what we're suffering more and more from, and it doesn't stop, is a mamish sinas chinam b'shem, so to speak, b'shem Hashem. Hatred amongst brothers, and it's always in the name of God. Because the Torah means this and you're acting like this. The Torah means this and you're acting like this. When the Rav said they made peace in Auschwitz, to me that struck a chord so deep. What kind of coals are we busy trying to rekindle? Flames of destruction that were put out in a very unfortunate manner, where we looked at each other completely naked in a gas chamber. They made peace in Auschwitz. They were forced to make peace in Auschwitz, right? And when the Rav said this, the student was just obviously completely silent. Meaning we all know there's no such thing anymore as Chassidim and Misnagdim. There's no such thing anymore really as a real machlokas. Everything is just on the outer levels. But it's not real. It's not real. It says that during this time, my brother, he said to me, if you do a calculation, Rabbi Akiva was going, what did he say, to 700 funerals a day during this time. 24,000 students, 12,000 chevrutas died in this time. So I think he said Rabbi Akiva was going to 700 funerals a day during this time. Beyond our comprehension, beyond our belief. Everyone's always looking for all the heterim in the world to do. It's like, why can't we just shut up and be okay with the fact that it's time to dig deep and do a tikkun on shelon hagu kavod zelazeh, to figure out this is a time to understand how do we honor each other? How do we remember that everyone already made peace in Auschwitz? Let's just take this time to shut up. And this level of vayidom aron, like we spoke about it on Shabbos in the afternoon, this level of dmama, of silence, it's good to have this. All year long we're talking about it. Now, there's these weeks of just this quiet. And the learning that we've been doing, last week, on Shabbos, last night, and tonight, has all been centered around Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, which is a minute to learn every Shabbos afternoon between Pesach and Shavuos. But really it's to learn it all the time. I don't just believe it's Shabbos afternoon. I think it's got to learn this every single day. Pirkei Avot. Every single Mishnah in Pirkei Avos is explaining to us in the deepest depths how to have covered for each other, how to have covered for ourselves, and what it means to have covered to the Ribbono Shel Olam, what it means to give honor to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And the parshas that we're learning help us so much connect to that avodah. Right now it's avodah, right now it's mamash avodas Hashem. I want to share with you today on the Moshav, there was a very, very, very high bris milah. Remember, we were learning for so long for the refuah of Michael Moshe Ze'ev ben Yehudis. We were learning for him for so long for his refuah shlema. Our friend Michael Golom, Leah Golom's husband, who passed away not even exactly 2 months ago. Because because we just came from Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and he was laid to rest Rosh Chodesh Adar Nisan Iyar. And it was his grandson's bris, and obviously the kid is named, you heard the name, Shalev Michael Marom. Such a beautiful name. Marom Menachem, elated, up there. And it was a moment where it was Rabbi Shlomo's energy was very much felt in that shul today, more than I ever remember it. Since I've been going there since I'm a kid, there's something in the room today of both Hazorim Bedima Berina, both Bedima Berina, sowing, planting with seeds, with simcha, planting with pain, which is happening. There's a lot going on, but everyone also sensed something very strong: Avodas Hashem. Avodat Hashem, to be a servant of God, to be active. Last night we were learning that we're put in this world as Olam HaAsiyah. This world is about moving. He's a shaker and baker. This world is about doing. It's about going there. Now, this was all a prep for right now, for the following question. If I would ask each and every one of you right now, personally, and I want you to think of it in a very strong way, simple question that people stopped asking us after we were maybe 10 or 13, or I don't know, about probably after the age of 10, people stopped asking us this question for some reason. And what's this question? What do you want to be? It's after 10, you're not asked that question anymore, because that's it. You had 10 years, you reached 10, now there's no more time to think about this. Now you have to know what you want to be. I don't know why people stop asking that question after a certain age, but let's start right now again. If I'd ask you, what do you want to be? What qualities, what traits do you want to become part of your life? Be honest with yourselves right now. Well, first of all, think about that answer for just 10 seconds. What quality traits, what do you want to write? I want to be so-and-so. So the PDC answer is, PDC is politically deep correct, right? So the PDC answer, no, there's a lot of that by us, huh? The PDC answer is what? If I ask you, what do you want to be? What midah do you want to become? I want to be real. That's deep. I want to be real. Okay, that's great. However, that has nothing to do with Olam HaAsiyah. What does that mean? I want to be real. I want to be real is a beautiful place to get to, but what about taking on whatever it's going to take for you to become real? I also want to be real. We all want to be real. What does that mean? Why is it? It's Parshat Kdoshim this Shabbos. Acharei Mot Kdoshim. This is what we're talking about tonight. We've talked about different sides to this Parsha in recent years, but it's a very important thing. If I ask you, do you want to become holy? Will you, and you say yes, and then I ask you, will you do whatever it takes to become holy? Why is the answer why can't you say yes as fast as the first answer? Holy is petrifying, right? Petrifying. It's a petrifying concept. A kadosh. I'm not a kadosh, come on. You just said you want to be holy. But what I said I wanted, I would never in a million years begin the Rabbanos, getting smicha to become holy. Can you imagine if in Rabbanos and rabbinic schools there was a whole program that actually was the holy course? The holy course, yeah, not just the rabbinic course, the holy course. Well, guess what? We have a holy course. And the holy course is us being a child and us being a parent. That's the hechsher. That's the becoming holy in this world. How you are as a child and how you are as a parent. In the past, we've learned that kadosh means the following thing, defining holiness. The Parsha opens up by saying, Kdoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. Be holy unto me because I'm holy. Which always sounds weird, because it's kind of like saying, create heaven and earth and split the sea because that's what I do, right? Like that the reasoning behind Hashem asking us to be holy is very bizarre. Be holy unto me. Lama? Because I am holy, but you're God. You're a lot of other things that I could never be.
Another category.
Yeah. So the Ishbitzer says, we learned this many times, that kadosh means a simple word. It means to be mukhan umezuman. Holy means to be ready to do anything for somebody else. Why? Kdoshim tiyu. Be ready for me, God is saying. Be ready for me at any given second. Why? Ki kadosh ani. Because I'm ready for you at any given situation, at any moment. Therefore, what's the act of a couple getting together called? Kiddushin. Because what you're essentially doing is that you're creating a covenant. A covenant, a brita nisuim, brita kiddushin, which you're basically saying to each other, look, I'm going to mess up on a lot of things. I don't know what a tzaddik is, but I know that kadosh is what I want. Meaning what? I am making myself ready for you at any given moment. This is what the husband does, hariyat mikudah, right? Because why? In a certain level, the husband sees the wife. He knows whoever he's choosing to be his mother of his children. He knows already that the woman is definitely ready for him at any given second, and vice versa. That's why kiddushin is called kiddushin. I'm ready for you. You know what it means to be holy based on that pshat? It means that at any given second, I'm ready to taste HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm ready to taste God. Still a little bit petrifying, no? A little bit less, because no one told you have to change the way you, where you live, where you look, any of the externals. You don't have to change anything yet. We just said, it just means to be ready. It just means to be ready at any given moment for the Ribono Shlem to experience Hashem. Why? Because we know that whenever we decide to go and cry our eyes out in the forest to God, we assume that when I'm ready for Him, He's ready for me. No? Did you ever have like a real outburst of emotions and you felt like, I really, really want to cry out to the Ribono Shlem, but you started doing a cheshbon wondering, well, is He there for me? Does He have time for me or not? When I'm ready, He's ready, obviously, right? So the Ribono Shlem says, listen, you're going to live your life, and there's going to be moments. I'm ready for you. Just like, I'll push you a little bit. I'll squeeze it out. I'll make your life a little bit difficult here and there sometimes. Just sometimes. And then you'll have what we call a from attack, and you'll want to really cry and come and meet me, right? And I'll be there, right? So the Ribono Shlem says, you know what? I'll be there then. Work your whole life on becoming holy. Kdoshim tiyu, be there for me. Not because I need you, but because I want you. The Ribono Shlem doesn't need anything. He's perfect. Something imperfect needs something. But we know that there's an inyan of a ratzon habore. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that we're always there. That was one language of understanding what kadosh is. Obviously, Rashi gives us a little bit of a different interpretation. What does it mean to be holy? It means separate. And we learned this also in Parshat Truma, that Truma means something, when it comes to godly service, it's something different than all other services you do in your life. Tonight we're going to learn another side. Warning. This is as deep as it gets. Mamash. Okay? It's not going to be easy. It's going to be gewalt though. Okay? But this is like really hardcore. This is the kind of stuff that like will if it wasn't for my wife's holy energy in this house, this would scare you guys away. Never have any of you come back ever again, because this stuff is just so powerful. So we could pass these around. And this is all based on the first two psukim of the Parsha. Yeah, just 2 pages back and forth. Front and back. Sorry?
Feels like 2 pages, but it isn't.
Okay, there's enough, yeah? Okay, let's look inside. What makes one person more holy or less holy, great or not great, is not how much they know. Okay, that already we've learned already so many times, right? But it's always good to remember that over and over again. The thing is always how much do they know where they are. What does that mean? There's a saying in Pirkei Avos, Ezehu chacham hamakir et mekomo. Who is one that's clever? One who knows where he is. The deepest secret in life is to know exactly where you are. Now I'm just going to put this out there. I was thinking about this today and I saw something similar in Rav Ginsburg's teachings. What's the first question that God ever asked? Where are you? There's something to it. There's something very, very deep to it. And we obviously know that God wasn't asking Adam, where are you physically? He said, where are you at? And therefore, the greatest question we could ever ask God is, Aye mekom kvod, where are you? Right? God asks us, Ayeka, where are you? Where's your place? And we ask back, Aye mekom kvodo, and where's the place of your kavod, Ribono Shel Olam? Not in a chutzpahdik way, like I can't find you, where are you? Meaning to say, like I'm desiring to know where your makom is. And by the way, we refer to God as, in many situations, not just in a Shiva house, we say it also in the Seder Pesach, Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. Why? God is Mekomo Shel Olam. God is the space of the world. So this is the first thing. Ezehu Chacham HaMakir et Mekomo. Now let me ask you, I want you to think of it in a very deep way. What does it mean to know where your place is? What does that mean? HaMakir et Mekomo. What do you think that means? What does that mean to you guys? What's so special about, what does it mean to know your place? To know where you are? Sorry?
My goal is
Nachon, Yafeh, what else? What else?
how I'm going to get there.
To know that where you are is where you should
Not
be.
necessarily. That's not this question. That could be some. We didn't. Makom is already the destination. Sorry.
To know that where you are is where you're supposed to be at any given moment.
Did you read the whole thing?
Don't
Okay.
read that fast.
No, it has nothing to do with tonight. I just want. No, I'm kidding. No. Hold on to what you just said. I'm not going to ask any questions anymore because I see that we'll just go right there. But hold on to what you just said, okay? Toby, I think there's a. You got it. Okay, so the Heilige Ishbitzer says that essentially, second paragraph, this is the meaning of holiness. Holy means important. A holy person knows what's important and what's not important. An unholy person does not know. Sometimes by mistake they do important things too, but they're doing it on an unimportant level. Okay, what does that mean? This is so beautiful. I've seen people giving 1 penny to a poor man on the level of holiness, and I've seen other people saving somebody else's life on the level of unholiness. Okay, what does that mean? This is very, very important. By the way, I've seen this too. I've seen people save someone's life on the level of unholiness. Not the act. The act is very holy. What's that?
Attitude.
Right, the whole approach and the meaning behind it. For them it's like, of course it's a holy act. Say someone's like, whatever, we save that guy from jumping off a building, like saying those kind of words. But the meaning behind the depth of what they just did is so much less holy than going to a schlepper that's lying down the street and giving them a penny and realizing right now that you're connecting heaven and earth. You understand the difference? It's a very important havchana. I want to make
the
it.
first part better. I I said better, that when you give that penny to a beggar, you give it with a smile and good morning, and you make him feel like a human being. But somebody saves the life, it saves the world. And it's like,
No,
such a big
so
thing
I have to I have to reiterate it again. When the act is saving a life, kol hamatzil nefesh, that we know, you're saving the whole world. That's not what we're referring to. It's what Chavi was saying. When my attitude is, well, whatever, so I saved his life. What does that do to your world after? You could walk away from saving someone's life untouched. That's what it means. I've seen musicians touch people's neshamas in the deepest depths, and after a concert, they leave the show with zero taste of what had expired. Now, was the act holy? That they turned someone's neshama? Of course it was holy. But what it meant, where it stayed in their life, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Because for them, that's not important. For them, what was important was making sure, the only thing was making sure that I get my check at the end of the night. That's what was important. So Rabbi Shlomo said, one of the Pirushim of holiness is knowing what's important and what's not important. I remember we asked this question about 3-4 years ago back in Neve Daniel, when we first started learning about I don't know what it was, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And the question was, look back at the last few hours of today and ask yourself how many of forget the last few hours, maybe today, think of all the things you did today, how many things that you did today were important, and how many things that you did today weren't important. So a holy person somehow works himself so much up in Kedusha that he ends up his physicality, this we're learning in Rav Kook, his Kedusha of his body only allows him to be involved and enveloped around things that are holy. He physically can't do something that's not holy. That's what it means to work on yourself, that I'm simply not able to do something that's not important. I'm only involved with things that are important. Okay. You guys look horrible, by the way. Let's continue. No, really. Everyone here...
You look confused.
No, because, okay, I can say whatever I want. This is my Shabbos day. Well, listen. Half the time we're learning the highest Torahs, and it's like, do we think we're supposed to come to Shir and when we learn something that we're not there yet, it's supposed to depress us, or we could learn something and be like, thank God that we have the opportunity right now to maybe sweeten our lives like sugar, or maybe like bitter sugar. Like in the beginning it's a bit bitter because it's not so easy to only be involved with important things all day long. But it's amazing. It's amazing. So that's why I said you look horrible, meaning you have. It's so funny that you can't see what you look like. Sometimes during the shiurim, the whole time I was like, I wish that camera was here, right? And one shiur, like Daniel's gonna put a camera. He's not gonna let anybody. Daniel's gonna put a camera here, and I'm gonna show you guys what your faces look like during shiur.
All right, show us the look.
But really?
Yeah.
You want to know?
Yeah. Show us what we look like.
Okay. Okay. The look. Honestly, it starts out. No, we're coming great at singing nigun. Maybe like 10-15 minutes in. So no one's looking at me anymore. And then the face goes down, and you're wondering, why did I waste my Monday night? I'm feeling guilty. I'll never live up to any of this, and kind of like, okay. Like, that's usually what it looks like. Vey is correct. Not your money, your Monday nights. Monday night, right.
Never.
No. It's just, maybe it's my paranoia, but that's what it looks like.
We're just
No.
horrified at how many things we did today that weren't holy.
Okay, but that's not the... But
Isn't everything?
No, okay. So wait a second. Isn't everything important? Very good question. That's what we're learning. That's mamish what we're learning about tonight. Okay? Because the point here, it's like, it really... learning Torah is like Tal Shemechayet Hamitim, is like a dew that resurrects the dead. But you don't have, it's not a prerequisite to first die in order to be that's what I feel like, it's chiyus, there's chiyus, there's the Torah is chaim. Let's try to now let's try to refocus and just be thankful, let's just be really happy that we're learning about really crazy things that, yes, we're not there yet. And guess what? I guarantee you that when Rabbi Shlomo was teaching this, the tzaddik that he was, I guarantee you that he was also thinking and davening to mamash really live up to every word he was saying here as well. Okay? The distance that's created between teachers and students is destructive. Meaning, over the years in high schools and colleges and yeshivas, you see that, especially in yeshiva, you see the Rav is speaking out. He's saying very holy words, and he's aspiring. He wishes he could live up to it. But what's happening to the student? The student thinks, I'm around a guy that's living up to all these high things, and who am I kidding? How much longer can I continue being so far from what he's saying? But really what's going on is the teacher's crying his eyes out while he's teaching it. Hopefully he's saying, Alavai. So I'm telling you, Chavran, these Torahs are the deepest Torahs, but if it's really causing us to have Shiva faces on, then we're missing something, okay? That's not what it is. Shiva faces. That's not a Shiva face. Now, let's continue. Okay, a third paragraph. Now listen to the deepest depths. What is considered a holy act? A holy act means that it was worth being created, and it was worth it for God to have created heaven and earth for me to do what I'm doing right now, in this split second. It's very holy. That's a very powerful word, huh? Holy means that everything was worth it for me to do this one thing. This too is also the real meaning of love. When I meet somebody and I realize that unless I would have gone through everything which has happened to me in my life, I would have not been able to connect to them and feel what I'm feeling in that moment. Okay, this is so deep. This is so powerful. This is so strong. But it's like tonight's Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet, so it's really like this is really for tonight. The Gemara says, Noach lo la'adam shelo nivra. It really is much more comfortable for our neshamas if we weren't ever sent down here to this world. The Hasidic legend has it that the Baal Shem Tov fought with God to be sent down to this world. Because he said, as much as it's not, the neshama of the Baal Shem Tov, as much as it's not comfortable for you and I to go through what we have to go through in this world, he knew that the light that's in him can really heal a lot of Am Yisrael. But really, the Gemara says, it's more comfortable for our neshamas to not walk this olam asiyah and get so lost in confusion on a daily basis. What's a life of holiness? What's a holy act? When you have a conviction, what are you sure about? That right after you did something holy, or while you're doing something holy, you're absolutely certain, and you can say with a full heart, full of bitachon, everything I've ever been through in my life was worth it in order to do this right now. So Rabbi Shlomo says that's love. That's also love. That's real. That's to finally be in love, to taste love with another human being. If while you're tasting love with another human being, you're still thinking about, but why did I have to go? Then you're not tasting. Then you're not there. Not just love with another human being, feeling love from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you're really feeling love from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the question, why did I have to go through what I went through, doesn't exist. It's not an important question at that moment. That's not important. Weiter, continue. Holy, this is so beautiful. Holy is when time and space meet, here and now. When basically all you're living right now is here and now. And obviously the whole movement, the movement of mindfulness, meditation, awareness, consciousness, what Rabbi Shlomo Katz is doing with the Elevation Seminar and all these absolutely incredible new worlds of thought which are putting a dagesh and emphasis on making sure that we're conscious of the fact that we're doing mitzvahs. That's what the whole world needs. Be conscious of the fact that you're doing a mitzvah. You know how much more clean we'd feel after a shower if we were conscious and aware of the fact that we're cleaning ourselves while we're cleaning ourselves? Think about it. Try it. Try it. And when next time you clean yourself, I want you to think about right now I'm cleaning myself. And then you'll see, after you're out of the shower, the bath, whatever it is, you'll feel much more cleaner. Whether you are cleaner or not, it's irrelevant. It's what you're feeling. So the same thing, so to speak, Kivyachol, being here and now, Rabbi Shlomo is connecting this to Mount Sinai, in a second to Har Sinai. What's Mount Sinai all about? You think God gathered us together and said, listen, I'll look at my calendar and I'll find a free weekend. And then God says, great, it looks like there's an opening on the 6th of Sivan. Brother Mo, that's Nisan Moshe. Right? Brother Mo, how about you? And Moses says to the children of Israel, are you ready for a little weekend on Mount Sinai? And Bnei Israel answer back, yeah, we just called up the UJA, there's no appeal that Shabbos, we have time on that weekend. Do you think like it just happened? What he's doing is like saying, do you think like Har Sinai was like, it worked out that way because it was on the way, on their journey? He's making a very important point here. You know what it is? Everything which took place before then had to happen. The flood had to be. The Tower of Babel had to be. The slavery in Egypt, the Red Sea had to split. Everything had to take place before. At Mount Sinai, I looked back and realized that every moment was important, Amy. And so, connecting to what you said before, I want to tell you guys the highest Torah I ever learned in Slonim. The Slonim, it's either the grandfather, the Nesiv was Shalom, the Birkas Avram or the Ber Avram. I remember learning this years ago. It struck me so deep. It says when we got to Mount Sinai, what's the pasuk? V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot ve'et halapidim, that we saw the voices. One of my hippie chevra explained his reasoning for taking acid Erev Shavuos is because he wanted to see the voices. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Seeing the voices. The Slonim Rebbe, really, and he was straight, so serious when he said it. It was unbelievable.
If you remember the 70s, you weren't there.
Right, 70s.
That's what they say about the 70s.
60s, right. That means you really weren't there. He says like this, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot ve'et halapidim, that we saw the voices. The Slonim Rebbe says, what voices did we see? We saw all the voices of our questionings asking God, why did this have to happen? Why did this have to happen? God played it back for us on Har Sinai. And when He played back those voices to us at Har Sinai, I was able to answer myself back and say, it had to happen. Why? Because time and space met. There was oneness. It was Kadosh. There was Kedusha. When there's Kedusha, then all the questions of why did I have to go through what I had to go through, not just that they're unimportant, you can answer them in a second. You say, oh, don't worry, God, I'll take this one. Instead of asking Hashem, now Hashem is saying, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, look back at your voices, wondering why you had to be a slave, why you had to taste such bitterness, why you had to be trapped in such pettiness. Kedusha is, love is, that when I can look back at everything I've ever been, me. I can't do this for somebody else, by the way. This, what we're saying now, you're not allowed to do this on someone else's cheshbon. You can't look at someone and say, wasn't it worth all the pain you went through in order to be where you are now? That's not, you can't ever say that to anybody. It's your private Kabbalah Satorah. It's your personal journey. You cannot say this to someone else. Kedusha is that I could really answer. Not that everything is perfect. Excuse me, was everything perfect at Mount Sinai? If it was that perfect, how could we fall so low a second later? It's not about being perfect, it's about Kadosh. holiness, moments of holiness, that everything had to be. Can you look at your life right now and look at every single thing that happened to you? And are you able to say, Mamish, everything had to be for where I am right now?
I don't think most people can.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not that most people can. You're
wondering why
right.
we have Shiva faces, you're telling us
You're
the
right.
same thing, and it's just
Again, you're right. Obviously, it's very, very, very hard. It's extremely hard to be able to say that. Not when you're in Betoch Olam HaKedusha. When you're wrapped by a mitzvah, when you're wrapped up by a mitzvah, when you're wrapped up in Kedusha, let me ask you a different question. Why is it hard for you to say yes now?
because the memories still hurt, they still suck, it still
Nachon.
happened, and
Nachon. Nachon. Now, can you imagine a reality where the memory of what happened to you wouldn't hurt?
I was right.
Can you imagine that it's possible?
No.
I think you can. I've seen your daughter. I think you can. I actually really think that you can. Not that I have any idea what's going on in your heart.
I don't, but
Like,
most people, they go through such such insane things that I don't see how.
We're not chas v'shalom belittling what anyone went through. That's not the point at all. No, I mean saying I'm not trying to belittle what anyone has ever gone through. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're not belittling. It's very hard to imagine that I could look back and say, to get here to where I am now, every moment had to happen.
It doesn't mean that you're happy that those moments happen.
Per se. Nachon. Nachon.
That is
Again, it's very important, Danielle. I'm glad you're bringing this up. I want to make it clear. This is not this is not a clinic of reinterpreting your past. You know, let's now reinterpret our past. I don't know what that means. Even I don't know how anyone can do that naturally without any other outer things. I'm talking about like this. It's not what we're talking about. Kedusha is that I go beyond time and space. We were learning in Rav Kook, Tshuva takes us to a place that's beyond the confines and limitations of the way I've been able to experience life until now. You can experience life, and I know we're pushing this a little bit, but it's okay. We're free now. We're not slaves. This is what we're doing during Sfirat HaOmer. Hard work, pushing ourselves. We're extending ourselves. We're going further and deeper than what we're used to. So whatever you knew until now about how you could taste your life, there's a whole new world of opportunity while you're walking towards Mount Sinai. And it doesn't mean that everything has changed. And it doesn't belittle anything you ever went through. Chas v'shalom. Like, I want you guys to know something very deep and personal, but I'll share it. My brother, when now Chas de Hashem, they have 4 beautiful children. Some of you know, some of you were friends then, that the first child they had, that they lost in the first week of the 8th month. Very, very, very bitter, beyond bitter darkness. It would have been my parents' first granddaughter. And he got a lot of calls of consolation. You see, my brother was so young. He's still young, but then was he 23? 20, I don't know, he was probably 23. And whenever anyone tried to interpret what happened, other than what it felt like, even if, I remember big Rebbeim that he respected were calling, giving over their interpretations. He didn't, but he just wanted to hang up the phone. But someone would come and pour out their heart to Rabbi Shlomo what they're going through. You think Rabbi Shlomo wasted 1 second trying to explain to them that it had to happen? He cried with them. So again, I'm crying with them also, Danielle. I'm crying with you. I'm crying, hopefully, with with everyone of what we went through. But when you're in Olam HaKedusha, when Kedusha is what's happening in your life, you don't think of the past the same. That's what I mean.
It's not asking for you to be happy about it.
I don't think it's possible.
But to see it being meaningful.
Right.
Right. Right, but that's a huge distinction. I mean, that changes everything. Sorry, Amy, what were you saying?
Critical to where we are today. Everything, if we believe Hakoto,
No.
and that Hashem has a plan, that every single thing that brought us to this minute was crucial to our existence.
Nachon. Nachon.
Good, bad, or
No, but I'll tell you what else this doesn't mean. I've heard this statement and I've wanted to smack people in the face when they say this. I don't regret anything I ever did because it made me into the person I am today. Mazel tov, and you're thrilled with who you are today, you
The
know?
person you would have been if you hadn't done these
Right.
things.
Right. Can you just imagine? Right. That also doesn't work. Meaning, we're not asking you to now go in remorse and regret everything you ever did, but also on bittul, hachna, shiflus, like your point, your job is not to be, like, holiness is not that I could actually say I don't regret anything. The Rambam lists regret as a key component of tshuva, nelchos tshuva, charata. It's a key component. However, you're not, whatever, we're going to get very lost right now. Not lost, but we're really going much, much deeper than I thought we were going to go. Huh?
We're getting found. I guess you're going deep.
Okay, now I hope, is it
We all struggle with it so much.
all of us?
The whole
But I just
nation,
wanted to
the
put
nation
out,
as individuals.
but I just wanted to put out this concept, the Chol Ha'am Ro'im et HaKolot, that on Mount Sinai, the Kedusha of receiving the Torah meant that God played me back all my questions along my journey, saying, why do I have to go through this? So if that's what happened on Mount Sinai, can you imagine the V'chol Ha'am Ro'im et HaKolot that's going to be when Eliyahu Hanavi comes? Le'ein aroch, completely unmeasurable. Let's go a bit further. And this fourth line, and this is the secret of Sfiras HaOmer. Between Pesach and Shavuos, we're learning not only that we have to count the days, we are realizing that unless every moment is what it is, I wouldn't be ready for Mount Sinai. Like, it's an amazing concept, right? Sfirat HaOmer is like, what are you basically exercising yourself to understand? That every day is meaningful. That everything that happens to you is meaningful. And Amy, that at the end of the day, once you get to Mount Sinai, you look back, don't be, like Hashem is saying, don't be surprised when you get to Mount Sinai and look back. And don't be surprised about the fact that every day was important. Do the work now, while you're getting to Mount Sinai, to learn the appreciation, how to appreciate every day, every episode in your life, every argument, every conversation, every doubt, everything was meaningful. And this is what I'm learning first when I get out of Egypt. Before I left Egypt, I thought to myself, whatever is happening is happening. Could have happened any day. No day is more important than the next, right? A slave, right? A slave doesn't count his days. What's in a slave's life? What is? If they come and beat me today, does it matter if it's today or if it's tomorrow? What does it matter? No day is more important than the next. Right now, as a free person, I realize it couldn't have happened yesterday. It had to be today. And then I realize, thank God it's happening today, because yesterday I wasn't ready. The holiness of Mount Sinai is all about here and now. It's all about this coming to a shleimut hadat, a completion of knowledge, a completion of bitachon, that I'm able to say, thank God. Like, this is like a really interesting thing. I could definitely say this about myself. Under my chuppah, I said, thank God I did not meet my wife before I met her. Do you understand, Daniela? Thank God.
That we had. We had known each other for 5 years. The one who worked out 5 years before.
But that's what we're saying. We're not taking away from what was before. We're not saying, thank God I didn't meet him before, because then everything was, you know. The lo barur. The lo barur. It's not. I wish it was barur. You're just happily. Thank God you're in love, but it's not barur. Can you imagine if every couple remembered that as they wake up in the morning? And they see each other, the first thing that they think of when they look at each other is, thank God, I didn't meet you a second earlier. Who lives like that? Right? No, but could you imagine that? That's the but that's the point. That is the matan Torah of marriage. That's the matan Torah of marriage. Now, I see it's already late, and I'm really I'm really torn right now because it's not going to take another 5 minutes. Because what he does now is so crazy. It's so amazing. Because he yes, okay, I won't go nuts, but if you have to leave, I understand, but this is really important. Look how he says right now. Because look at the bottom question. Mazel tov, so I know all this beautiful theory. How do you give this teaching over to your children?
You can't give it over to your children. You don't have it for yourself.
That's for sure.
You can't teach it, you don't know it.
Okay, I'll tell you something way out. Right? Now he says I'll tell you something way out. Until now it was very straightforward, Right? I'll tell you something way out. Take two sets of parents. By the way, again, like a lot of other pieces we've been learning recently, this is being learned for the first time, so it's very, very special. It's very, very special to learn this. We don't even realize, I have no idea how special it is to learn this teaching given over in May 1976 in Manhattan. We're sitting 40 years later in Eretz Yisrael learning this. It's unbelievable. Take two sets of parents. Their kids both go to the same school. They both have all the love of their parents. Something went wrong with both kids. One of them never made it back, but the other one was able to make it back. Now, what does he mean by make it back? Yeah. Even, right, not just Yahadut, just a really bad, healthy, like a non-health, really, really bad, mentally place. Okay, so something went wrong with both kids. One of them never made it back, but the other one was able to make it back. Now imagine those two parents meet and they talk to each other. What do they begin to realize? Okay, this is amazing. And I'll just preface by saying that one of the worst conversations I ever had with a parent was when the mother told me, I don't understand. My kid is not interested in having a relationship with me or with Hashem, but I spent just as much money as all my other friends did on my child's education. They all went to the same school. They all had the same teachers. And my kid turned out like this. You explain to me, Rabbi, how this is fair from Hashem. Shtei stirot. You want to smack a person's... No, you just want to cry with them. But inside, the Kohen and me want, are you kidding me? Go to one shir on Rabbi Shlomo's Torah. That's Chinese. Those words cannot exist. That question. We know that every kid is completely different. I've been going off on this for a while. I got in trouble in America when I said this. That it's such a dangerous world we live in, where parents, because especially in Chutz La'aretz, are spending the $20,000 to $25,000 a year tuition on a kid. They're somchim. They're relying on the child's fire and passion for Yiddishkeit to come from where the $25,000 a year are going. When really, all it would take is if the mother benched licht with having Yiras Hashem, the consciousness of God, and the child saw the mother lighting Shabbos candles in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or seeing a father make hamotzi, or feeling a tear drip on a kid's face while the father is giving Birkas Habanim. Right? That's where it's at. And yet we're living in a world where we're relying so much on where we're sending them to give them that which their neshamas really need. It's a dangerous road. And it's happening all over the place. Now, friends, it's not, let's look at the next paragraph, it's not enough to teach your children what you have to do on the level of right or wrong. Every child has something special about them, but you can't necessarily give it over to them in words, meaning you can't explain to them in words what's special about them. It's not about finding the right words. If I tell my baby, my child, you're talented for your piano, that isn't what I mean. And if I tell my child, you're a genius and you should be a doctor, this isn't what I mean either. Every person is a revelation from God which has never been here before. By the way, you're thinking about your children? Stop for a second. You are a revelation from God that was never here before. No matter what age you're at. You, me. Each and every one of us are, this never came down before. I have something, here he's saying something chutzpahdik, but it's just Parshat Pshat. I have something which Avraham Avinu didn't have. With something that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have. Who is the one to teach the child this utmost God holiness which nobody else has? Parents, not teachers. Teachers teach you the holiness of right or wrong. Right? That's not what parents are really involved. That's not why you're a parent. You're not a parent to teach your child, don't cross on red. That's, of course, you're supposed to tell them. That's not your yi'ud. That's not your, it's a yi'ud. Your
goal.
Your goal. No, yi'ud is like a goal. Your destiny in parenting. Rabbi Shlomo has a great Torah on that. A bar mitzvah boy's father, when he has a bar mitzvah, what does the father say? Baruch shepatrani me'onsho shel hazeh. Who in this room said it? You said it, Jack? David, you said it too?
4 times.
We haven't seen it. It's a lot of Averas, huh? So what does it mean? Baruch, Reb Shlomo said it so beautifully. What you think it means? The father says, oh, thank God, blessed you Hashem, that I'm exempt now from his punishments, and now it's all on him. What kind of a sick, twisted bracha is that to say over the Torah at a bar mitzvah? Baruch Hashem, now it's on you, son. Mazel tov, right? Okay, that's not what it means. Reb Shlomo said it means, I'm exempted now from the punishment of only being able to teach you what's right or wrong, because now you're of age that I could really start to give over to you and you could comprehend so much more than just what's right or what's wrong. So for a real Abba, it's almost like a punishment. When they see that, they feel, I can only teach my child the difference between right and wrong. Thank God, Hashem, now I'm exempt from the limitations of that world of teaching. Now I can give the child so much more. I thought that was a beautiful, I don't think it's a chiddush, because I think it's like, to me now, that's pshat. That's not drash. I would like to think that's pshat. Huh? It's tied to the chacham. Very good. Very good. Back to the 2 sets of parents. 3rd paragraph. Both parents taught their child what they're special about. Read, right? Meaning, you excel in this, your fingers look long, learn piano, whatever it is. But Nebuch, one taught his child, you're so special, you've got to be a doctor. Or, you're so wise, you'll be a holy rabbi. But that's not where it's at either. The other parent taught his child that there is something so special about you and it has no words. And yet it's so special. You know what this 2nd set of parents gave to their child? Their own place in this world. That I have a place in this world. How did we start off this year tonight? Ezehu chacham hamakir et mekomo. Who is someone that's wise, that's clever? Someone who knows where their makom is. I see this everywhere. Israel, America, South Africa. I saw it in Australia. Do you know that most people walk around the world, they don't feel like they have a place in this world? Where does it come from? It comes from not living up to the beautiful expectations that people said about me, especially my parents when I was younger. They told me I'm special in this, and guess what? That's not what I ended up choosing in life. So what's my makom? That was my makom. That was the space my parents told me about. But Reb Shlomo says that a real parent goes much deeper than that, not just guiding their child and focusing on certain skills. That's nice and that's important, but that's not what makes the child more special than other children. Because if God forbid the child fails in what the parents set them up for, even if it was holy and good intentions, ein lehem makom, they don't have a space anymore. Ezu chacham hamakir et mekomo. Do you know how deep this is? How do you create a space for a child? You have bitachon in God, that all you're supposed to do in this world is guide them. You're even supposed to teach them a trade, but you're not supposed to make them feel that their specialness is dependent on living up to their parents' dreams. Do you know what's so hard for parents to believe? Next paragraph. This is so special. Do you know what's so hard for parents to believe? That God reveals to parents on the level of prophecy this holiness which nobody else knows about their children. It's absolutely a prophecy. He said, this is a crazy thing, because I always thought parents only have prophecy once. When's that? Naming. So, and it was clear today. They got clear prophecy. Today's baby. That name is clear prophecy. And now, here he's saying it's prophecy. You have to believe that if God trusts you with a certain child, and forget about your children, think about you to your parents. You have to believe that your parents were given the opportunity to exercise their prophecy, which means what? That a parent can give space for their children, to teach their child how to tune into the specialness about them. It's not in words. It's not a profession. It's not an act. It's not a look. It's something so much deeper. I wish I could be able to put in words, in better words, what he's been saying over here. Because I know it's a very big concept. But I know that so many of us struggle from feeling that our parents didn't really give us a makom in this world. They gave us love. A lot of love. He said both sets of parents gave their child all the love in the world. But they didn't really give to their children. One of them didn't give to their children that place for them to find out who they are. That the specialty of their child is that they would find out who they are. They would give them enough koyach to know how to walk the streets of the world and find out who they are on their own. And that, Rabbi Shlomo says, is nevu'ah that's given to parents, the manner in which to give it over to a child, because otherwise, this is a scary statement, so buckle up. Otherwise, God would not have trusted you with the children that you have. Meaning like this, now we're going with a Gemara cup. If I have a child, what does that mean? It means that God, it's mashma, that God does trust me, that I can give over to my child a makom in this world. Because if not, God wouldn't have trusted me with children. God's not cruel. God is not cruel. He doesn't give me a child and basically say, you have no chance of giving them a makom in this world. Every parent has the potential prophecy to provide this for their children. What do you want to say, David?
It's a very big thing for a parent to be able to step back and say that maybe this kid might know that what to do without me. It's a very hard
But
thing.
I don't know what that feels like yet, you know?
It's a very,
I have no idea what it feels like.
The parent has been there, or thinks he's been there.
Right.
So if a parent can really step back and say, even though I think I've been there, I'm going to give you the freedom to try to do it yourself, that's a really big thing.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
You can't,
Even letting your child drive for the first time must be torture. But that's just on a pshat. That's just like on a very...
on a life level.
That's on a life level.
Yeah, you do it when you sit on the bench in the park and you don't sit under the monkey bars to catch them.
Yeah, but...
Like you trust them to...
Yeah, but that didn't work out so good today.
Oh.
You're saying because you saw me today? Because you saw me today in the park? Oh, because I couldn't do it.
It's very
She's
hard.
jumping. I'm like, what kind of a bad parent am I? But that's true, I think. Like, I really would be a bad parent if I would have let her continue jumping.
Or- Good parents make mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. We're wrapping up. So now I want to tell you like this. If a person has been taught this utmost holiness of having a place in this world which is just for them, they will come back. Take it or leave it. This is so special. They'll come back. And trust me, he saw them all. a lot of Satmar and Hasidim that would scream at him for what he was doing. And they would come to him and cry and say, listen, our son is a heroin addict in San Francisco. You're the only one that can get them out. He met them all. He really saw everybody. He saw everybody. So he says, I don't know why, but this is what it is. If a person has only been taught that you're just like everybody else, you're more talented or less talented, all this is unimportant, meaningless talk. Just a few weeks ago, one boy in Nebuch tried to commit suicide because his parents always told him he has to be a doctor. And when he wasn't accepted into medical school, he tried to commit suicide because what else is there to live for? That moment, remember that moment of liberation when you truly stop living for your parents? Do you remember that moment when that moment? I mean, for some people, they're never out of that slavery. They have to come back in the next Gilgul to come out of that slavery. Way after their parents took off out of the Me'aveh Esrim. Rabbi Shlomo says, Baruch Hashem, he was saved at the last second. Now imagine the other boy, Rabbi Shlomo says. The boy that was saved. The boy that, meaning from the two parents, the boy that made it back. Maybe his parents also told him to go to medical school, and he wasn't accepted. He won't commit suicide, because he knows there's something so holy about him which no one else ever had. It doesn't have to be in words, meaning he wasn't told what's so special about him. His parents gave him a sense that there's something so special about you. Yeah, we think you'd be a good doctor. Go for it. But they won't. The parents provided the space for the child to figure out who eventually he will become, so he'll make it back. So now let's learn the depths of this parsha. This was all just to understand the first two psukim of this parsha. It says, Kdoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. We already explained the beginning of Shir, 2 or 3 different interpretations for the word kadosh. But the beginning is Kdoshim tiyu. God says, be holy ki kadosh ani. What's that first level of holiness? I have a Shulchan Aruch. I have a Shas. I have a Mishnah Berurah. I have an Aruch HaShulchan. I have Nosa Kelim. I have Rabbeim. I have a Derech. I have a Shul. I have Yeshiva. I have the Torah. Kdoshim tiyu. The Torah teaches me how to be holy. That's the first level. And then it says, what's the next pasuk? Ish imo va'aviv tirao. Ve'es shabsosai tishmaru. Fear your mother and your father and keep my 2 Shabbases. And by the way, Chavra, all the Mefarshim, or Chaim HaKadosh, all the Mefarshim are trying to understand the smichus of those 2 psukim, why those 2 psukim come together in the beginning of our parsha. Why does the beginning of the parsha say, Kdoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani? And then instead of talking about Pashut refraining from Tumah, it goes right into having yira from your parents. Do you see what it is? Teaching your child they had to be born now is the most profound teaching of Kdoshim Tihiyu. Okay, I know I'm begging you to stretch your hearts and minds for one more minute. This is going to be the last thing that's going to be hard tonight because we're wrapping up, but please, I know it's late, but this is so deep. We still haven't answered the question, how do you do this? We know what kind of child ends up okay, but we're still scratching our heads and saying, so how do I do this for my child? How do I provide this for them if it's not about words? If I can't tell them how special they are on the level of this specialness, how do I provide my child to have their own makom in this world? To have their own space in this world? So Rabbi Shlomo just said something so profound. Remember we said before, what's Kedusha? Here and now. That everything that had to happen for now to take place. Like one time my friend Miriam Futterman wrote me a beautiful birthday bracha, which I'm sure many of you have seen this bracha in different forms, the name of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. But you see how copyrights are horrible, because I heard it the same words, the name of Rebbe Nachman, but it's probably the Rebbe, it's definitely not both of them. On a birthday, you remember that God kind of decided that He can't continue this world without you, right? What a beautiful way of thinking of your birthday, right? Can you imagine if that was given over to a child? that the parents realized everything in life happened, and everything had to happen just for you to be born. Everything. It's not that my parents fell in love and they did what everyone else did. They got married and then everyone else was having babies, so they had a baby too. Chas v'shalom. I once spoke to a girl who had to go for severe psychological help because she came to a conclusion that she probably was not really, that her parents bringing her into the world wasn't the most important thing on their agenda when they had her. What it does to a person. Can you imagine living your whole life thinking that my parents had me, but it wasn't really that, it wasn't the most important thing. Like one guy today at the bris was talking to the father of holding his baby. He's talking to him about a factory to get stuff tomorrow morning. I looked at the guy. I looked back at the father. I said, "Take a deep breath." He goes, "What are you talking about? Right now you brought a child." Again, what's important? What's unimportant? So Rabbi Shlomo, again, look back inside. You see what it is. Second line on this bottom paragraph. Teaching your child they had to be born now, is meaning whenever it is that they were born, is the most profound teaching of Kdoshim Tiyu. For a child to know its makom in the world is worth 1,000,000 lifetimes, even more than that. That's why right after the initial Kdoshim Tiyu, it goes right away into Ish imo v'aviv tirao. There's something your parents have the potential to teach you. Kdoshim Tiyu, you have to be holy like everybody else, but Ish imo v'aviv tirao, your parents are teaching you the holiness of just you, your space in the world. How awesome, how much yira there is in that type of a relationship. So, this is enough to do a whole workshop for like 7 weeks of just understanding this teaching. This is a very hard teaching. But if we push ourselves and we go there, then we realize like what would I love to give my child more than anything in the world? That in every stage in life they're surrounded by Kedusha. And what does Kedusha mean? That they can feel be'emunah shlema that everything they ever had to go through had to happen in order for them to taste the holiness they're tasting in this moment. Let's face it. When is the moment that we realize we can't shelter our child forever? When does that happen? For each person it happens at a different point. But what is the way in order to have bitachon without fully sheltering my child? Is that what they saw in the house growing up. Not the way I sent them to outside the house to get chinuch, but the manner in which I looked at them with eyes of everything in the world was a preparation for you to come into the world. I don't remember the world before you. When the child feels that parents don't remember what their life was before they had them, or that the parents can actually say, I remember, and everything that happened was just for you to be here and experience this world, that child's going to make it. They'll go through their own Gehenna, lo aleinu, en ma la'asot. They'll go through their own mishagas. But Reb Shlomo says, that child that grew up in a house like that, with parents that somehow conveyed to their children that everything in this world was a preparation for them, that child will eventually make it. He'll eventually make it. And it has very little to do with what you get in a yeshiva, what you get in the school system. What you get in the school system is not meant to be more than just the teaching of right or wrong. For that, God didn't create parents. God created parents for something so much deeper. Kdoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani, and what's the next thing? Ish imo v'aviv tirav ve'es shafsosei tishmanu. Reb Shlomo ends off by saying, it's not here. He says, while I'm on the journey, until I feel that this beautiful place as a given, when do I taste those moments? The end of the pasuk says, Es Shabsotai Tishmar, when Shabbos becomes so precious to you, and a child grows up with seeing Shabbos in their life. Not just a day where I don't do what I usually do, but Shabbos is Shabbos. You taste the Kedusha of Ish Imo V'Aviv Tiro. You taste the Kedusha of feeling like my parents are providing me with a place in this world. So during these weeks of Sfiras Omer, these Shabboses that we have should be taken so much more sweeter, deeper, more meaningful, infused with so much Kedusha, because deep down inside, if I asked you what's the most important thing in your life, you would say, I want to give over to my children confidence that they have a place in this world. And I'd ask you, and what would you do for that? What would you give in order to be able to know you can give that over to your children? You would say anything in the world, correct? You'd say anything in the universe. Well, it starts with Kedusha. It starts with mamish Kedusha, with involving yourselves with things that are important, with being ready for your spouse, like we said in the beginning of Shir, being ready for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But ultimately, it's this teaching of giving your child a space to find out that they do have their own makom in the world. So alavai, an exalted teaching like this should be reviewed 15,000 times till Shabbos, and even after that. Listen, just like friendly advice, don't try giving this teaching over. Like, when you see at a Shabbos table this Shabbos and someone asks you for a good vort, don't even. This is not the vort teaching, but this is the everything teaching. This is like the whole world teaching. So we'll continue next week. We'll seeing how the parshiot that are in Sfirat Omer are really making us being so happily involved with Tikkun Hamidot, with the fixing of our midos. And thank you so much for mamish lasting and making the schlep out here. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.